There we go. Had to get live on everywhere else too. So that's where we're there. Oh, Miss Baez is in the house. Hey, don't forget to hit me up. I hit you up a little bit earlier, Miss Baez. So you know what I'm saying. Hit your boy. I'm trying to holler at you. Um, so we are here. Um, another amazing guest, and I'm excited for this. Have this brother on. You said there's an echo. Let me see. Let me see where the echo's coming from. You might want to see if you can turn yours down a little bit more. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, my joint turned all the way down.
Maybe it's me.
It might be my computer.
Oh, because of the Oh, I see. Because it's probably coming out and echoed into it. You got any headphones or no?
Um, yeah,
I mean, but we might have to. I didn't know that was echo gonna be that bad.
what I would hook the headphones to my computer.
Yeah, you can hook them to computer. Yeah.
Uh,
Hold on, y'all. Thank y'all for giving us heads up about the echo because we're trying to trying to make sure y'all can hear exactly what we got going on. And and I'm like, while he gets those headphones, I'm gonna go ahead and say for all y'all beautiful people out there, if you have not already, please go to polkadotrabbitpodcast.com. Check out my book, um, Bicultural Living and Losing, Living and Leaving the World of Illusions. A lot of people always wonder why. All right, so man, you always talk about different subjects and different things, all this stuff. You want to wonder why I have this diversity in my life? Read the book. It'll explain it all. You can go to my website, polkadotrabbitpodcast.com. Okay. And while the good brother's getting ready, um, let's take a look here. I'm just going. Oh, there you go. I'm gonna let me see if I is it could y'all still hear the echo? Is it when I talk? Oh wait a minute. Oh, I hear it. The echoes. I see. Yeah, I see what's happening. It's all good. He has okay. Once he puts his headphones on, the echo's gonna go away. I see what's happening. Y'all hearing the echo from his external speakers. So yeah, we.
Hey, so let me ask you this.
Mhm.
I never really did this before. So if I turn the computer down all the way and then just turn it up on the phone so I can hear on the phone.
Yeah, you can do that. Yep, you sure can. Is the headphone? Do you have the headphones? Will it work?
All right, how that sound?
Yeah. I, oh wait a minute.
A lot
No,
better.
he
Just
said she's saying Miss Baez said turn the volume down.
on my
Yeah,
phone.
yeah,
How's that?
yeah.
It's better.
Okay, she said perfect. Miss Baez said perfect. So I trust her word.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not tech savvy at all.
It's all good. It's all yeah. Everybody's saying Jada says it's better as well. Okay, so that's good. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. My technical support team. You see that? You see how they do?
Yes, sir. Appreciate that, y'all.
All right, man. I'm done introducing myself and doing tech support myself. So, brother, please give the people your name, what you do, what you are, et cetera, et cetera.
Um, well, my government name is Ivan Tutwiler. My family calls me Isaiah. On these social media platforms, I go by the name of Tuttle She. I really don't do much. I just came home from prison. I'm in the process of just getting my life back in order. Been learning a whole lot of things. Been in the process of unlearning a whole bunch of things just so I can relearn some or learn some new things. And with that being said, I'm just glad to be here. I appreciate the brother giving me this opportunity to speak my piece.
Yeah, people always ask me like, where you find these people from? I was just like, shoot, man, I be looking for regular Joe Schmoes and Joe Schmoettas. You know what I'm saying? I just be looking for real cats that talk, real talk. And so I do appreciate you even just coming on here. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So you from Chicago, correct?
Yeah, born and raised Chicago, Illinois, South
All
Side.
right. So yeah, tell me about your childhood years. What how did they look like?
Wow. So uh I didn't really have what you would call a normal childhood.
Mhm.
I started school at the age of 3. Before then, I was being homeschooled. The first school that I went to at the age of 3 was Sister Claire Muhammad School, the masjid that sits on 73rd and Stony Island. So I was around when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was still with us in the flesh. Um, after he transitioned, my parents, they took me out of that school and enrolled me into another school, which was called Christian Fellowship Academy. So pretty much what my parents did with I and my siblings, they pretty much gave us an education in reference to all the world religions, whether they be orthodox or unorthodox. And I feel that that set the precedence, or at least the stage, for me to be where I'm at right now. And fortunately, first and foremost, unfortunately, I end up going into the streets. I got involved in gang culture, which eventually led me to prison. I spent 25 years in prison on a 60-year sentence. I came home. While I was in prison, I did the average prison stuff, worked out. But the difference between I and a lot of guys in there, their spirits are weak. They
Mhm.
don't really have a lot of backbone, so they succumb to the flesh. Dealing with like
Mhm.
homosexuality. You got individuals that be into telling and stuff like that. I didn't do none
Mhm.
of that stuff. I
Mhm.
pretty much, and then I did my time out of. I happened to do my time out of state, so I didn't know nobody. So I pretty much stayed to myself. But because of how I carried myself, I obtained the respect of a lot of the elders that were from. I did my time in Virginia, so I gained the respect of a lot of the elders that were from the DMV area.
Mhm.
And fortunately, also when I was a lot younger, my mother and father had already instilled in me that my background, what our pedigree, where we come from, that we were actually American Indians.
Mhm.
It was just me when going off into the streets, and when you're in them streets, and I don't know if you all are familiar with gang culture, especially in Chicago. Gang culture in Chicago are each organization is tied to a specific spirituality or
Mhm.
school of thought. So,
Mhm.
for instance, if you're a Black Peace Stone Ranger, 9 times out of 10 you fall underneath the Moore Science Temple of America
Mhm.
situation. If you're a gangster disciple or any one of the disciple part of any one of the disciple nations, you fall underneath a spirituality that is pretty much connected to the 6 point star. So, with that being said, those specific schools of thoughts, once I'm in the streets, I'm not even thinking about I'm an American Indian. I'm just
Mhm.
doing I'm repping what I'm repping. You know what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
until when I got a little older and I began to understand personally for myself how a lot of that stuff was an adverse to American Indian culture and spirituality that I decided to. I said I have to make a choice. You can't straddle the fence. You can't
Mhm.
mesh the two together.
Mhm.
Either you're going to be one or the other. So here I am now learning about it
So
at the
like,
age
mm,
of 53.
hey, age ain't nothing but a number, bro. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
Age ain't nothing but a number, man. You know what I'm saying? I met plenty of cats that have been 53 that act like 12-year-olds, and 12-year-olds that look like 53-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? You know
Yes,
what I'm
sir.
saying? You already know. Um, so let me ask you this question, because I hear a lot of cats talking about like gangs and different do you see like a similarity between like gang culture when it comes to not necessarily like the metaphysics or anything or the structure, gang culture and tribal culture, as far
Um,
as
yes, sir. As a matter
hmm
of fact, there is a big correlation between gang culture and
hmm
tribalism. Gang
hmm
culture is nothing but tribalism.
hmm
Um, the only difference is in my personal opine is the fact that the spiritualities that are connected to certain gang cultures,
hmm
well, depending on where you at, because I know like on the West Coast, a, it's a little bit different how they do it, like how we do it in Chicago. Just like up north in New York, it's a little bit different how we do it in Chicago. So I know I can only speak about Chicago. And so how it is in Chicago, the spirituality is what differentiates what would be deemed a genuine American Indian tribe or what have you. You see what I'm saying?
Um, See, my thing is the more and more I've learned and known people in gangs and etc. It seems like gangs ultimately get a bad rap. You know what I'm saying? They like when you see gangs, you always just think, oh, they just out there killing people. And I mean, I'm sure it's a good, bad, and the ugly and all that. But is that true? The gangs get a bad rap. You know what I'm saying? As far as the media goes.
That is correct. However, I mean, because I was a part of that lifestyle at one
Mm-hmm.
point in time, I hold myself accountable for my specific ways and actions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, However, I'm sharp enough to understand that a lot of that stuff was perpetuated by the so-called powers that be. For
Mm.
instance, those who are familiar with the COINTELPRO program
Mm-hmm.
and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, gang culture, as we know it now, didn't start out being bad or
Mm-hmm.
out there being it wasn't related to any type of criminal element. It
Mm-hmm.
was all created to protect the neighborhood or well, I know in Chicago it was a whole bunch of racism.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Anglo-Saxons, the white people, they had their own neighborhoods. You couldn't go into their neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
and and if they came into our neighborhoods, they were very hostile.
Mm-hmm.
So the elders like my dad, my uncles, and them, and a lot of the guys that they ran with, they came up with these organizations, these structures,
Mm-hmm.
to help protect the neighborhood. It wasn't until when the government or the authorities got wind that they were doing these types of things that, of course, here comes the infiltration, here comes the
Mm-hmm.
stirring up unnecessary beefs, and then there's a lot of stuff that I because I was privy to a lot of information, I'm not going to talk about. But it's a lot of stuff that I can say that eventually the gang culture did start doing stuff that they wouldn't that put them on that specific path. You see what I'm saying?
Do you still think that that specific path was because of like COINTELPRO and all of that? Like, was that some of the reason? Was it like greediness?
Yeah,
Or
I
what? I
would
mean,
say it was like 98%.
mm-hmm.
See, I understand. Well, I am growing in my understanding of how the human mind works, and I know that confusion starts in the minds of men, right? So you're not gonna always have everybody is not gonna just be good. You're gonna have some bad apples,
Mm-hmm.
regardless. You're gonna those bad apples come with a variety of different types of characteristics like
Yeah.
jealousy,
Mm-hmm.
envy,
Mm-hmm.
greed,
Mm-hmm.
this and that, and therefore and so forth and so on. And that stuff eventually breeds stuff like theft,
Mm-hmm.
murder, and all the other
Yeah.
horrific crimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I see that.
like I say, 98% of it is due to the condition our people have been placed in ever since the invaders landed on our shores. However, even back then, amongst the American Indian tribes, you had bad apples then as well. So it's as they say there's nothing new under the sun,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And
Yeah.
it's my personal opine that if that is the case, then us as a people in the world at large is doomed to continue to repeat the same cycle over and over and over again, no matter how many conversations we have, no matter how many books that we may read, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how deep we may get into our spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how high our modes of consciousness may raise, eventually, because they say that there's nothing new under the sun, we're doomed to repeat the cycle over and over again. So
Mm-hmm.
I suggest that we strive to come up with an original thought that will produce an original behavior, something
Mm-hmm.
that's new. You know what I'm saying? That's
Mm-hmm.
not to the point where you assimilate back into the same old ways and actions. For instance, like government structure
Mm-hmm.
or the way how the world is from what I can gather, you have a lot of indigenous people all over the world that have been causing a uproar in their respected localities because of the criminality that's going on within the governments.
Mm,
However, let us say that eventually the government does go ahead and move out the way after they complete their little agenda or what have you, because at the
mm,
end of the day, they know they do have a time limit and they know that their time is up.
mm,
But when it's time for us to step into our rightful positions of power and authority, or our rightful thrones of governance, we cannot do the same things or run the government the same way as they did.
mm,
It makes no sense to do so, because we might as well not even change at all.
mm. Yeah, you have to have a system and structure implemented. Um, and also, you got to reconnect with nature. You know what I'm saying? Because man done came in and with his big chest and all this kind of craziness and doing all this nonsense. As opposed to how we did it, as we talked about back in the day. We connected with nature. We got information from the seasons, the stars, and etc. Man, you know what I'm saying? And not only that,
Yes, sir.
we lived in a matriarchal society. You know what I'm saying? Man then took
That's it.
over and did their thing. So, and going back, kind of like you were saying earlier, like it seems like, if correct me if I'm wrong, but like what the Black Panthers were initially, that would have been positive cats coming together, protecting their community, doing their thing, being called then gangs. Somebody step in, make them look all crazy because of COINTELPRO, and now something very positive looks ugly, right? Is that a good example?
That is correct. Um, I happen to have grew up with Fred Hampton's son,
Hmm.
Fred Hampton Jr. We called him Flintstone. Growing up he's from off the west, actually off the west side. However, because of who my father and my uncles were, okay, so it's a place that's we used to call the Big Fort.
Hmm.
It was on 39th and Drexel. It was the headquarters of the Black Peachstone Rangers, and so everybody used to go there to party. So all over the city. So that's how I was able to rub elbows with,
Hmm.
with, with, with Youngin. So anyhow, to make a long story short, that's exactly how it happened. Once the Black Panthers began to gain momentum in my respected city, the authorities didn't like that, and before they um, did what they did to the brother and the other brother Mark Clark, what they did was they stirred up a beef between, because he was in the process. Fred Hampton was in the process of not only just bringing the street organizations together, but also the different other racial ethnicities
Yeah.
as well together to fight against the common enemy.
Hmm.
And what they did was they stirred up beef between the street organizations and the Black Panther, specifically the Black Peachstone Rangers and the Black Panthers, and
Mm.
it never transpired. And
Hmm.
then unfortunately, the government stepped in also, and because of how powerful the young brother was, is you got to be mindful too. Those brothers back then were like okay, like now you got elders who sound super sharp
Hmm.
and very intelligent and know what they talking about or what have you.
Hmm.
But them was some youngins back then, you know what I'm saying? They were
Hmm.
like in their early 20s, like
Hmm.
18, 19, 20, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And they was on it like that. So if they would have allowed that seed to blossom, it would have been it would
It'd have been
we
a
probably
wrap.
would be a lot more farther right now than we are presently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that. Like, even metaphysically, it's like what was the years of that time frame? Like, what was the year? Years.
That was like the 60s and the 70s.
70s. Yeah. So that was like that we started creeping to the age of Aquarius. So them new souls started coming in. You know what I'm saying? Ready for this battle. You know what I'm saying? That makes perfect sense. And then yeah, that makes perfect sense because everything started. The revolution really started then at that time frame, right?
Right. They had to,
Yeah.
they had to stop that. My generation, from how it looked at back then,
Hmm.
my generation would have been the generation that probably would have set the record straight, because we were the offspring of of that movement. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah. Yeah.
we was the direct offspring of that movement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was our generation that turned the gang culture into what it is now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I mean, the elders they did what they did, but we took it to a whole nother level. But
Mm-hmm.
had we say had COINTELPRO not interceded, had had the Black Panthers and those street organizations and the other racial ethnicities would have gotten together, us as the offspring, we wouldn't have probably geared down the road that we geared. At least those of
Yeah.
us who were listening to the elders. Because
Yeah.
once again, like I said, you got bad apples in the bunch as well.
Yeah.
But it
So,
wouldn't have been as terrible as it is now. You know what I'm saying?
so that movie that they put out, um, that was pretty accurate, relatively speaking.
You talk about Fred
About
Hampton.
Fred Hampton, yeah.
Um, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't like the movie because
Mm-hmm.
of from the perspective they told the movie.
Yeah.
They told the movie
I'm a
from
snitch.
the rat's perspective.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Um, so the story wasn't really about Fred Hampton or the
Yeah.
movement itself. And that's just like how the quote unquote powers that be. They put
Mm-hmm.
everything that they broadcast, whether it's through the music, through the television or through the theater, it is geared to psychologically plant
Mm-hmm.
a seed
Mm-hmm.
where the police always wins. They always get their guy.
Mm-hmm.
The tough guy eventually becomes a snitch or
Mm-hmm.
turns into,
Exactly.
becomes very weak. You know what I'm saying? And so this is a picture that they constantly is putting out there. And mind you, most people don't learn from just listening to people. Most people learn from what they see. So if you're constantly seeing these images, it's like psychologically imprinted on your in your ear, and then eventually it blossomed into a weed.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you see that because even on my end, I would hear stuff about that whole, you just read because I wasn't around that time, but I read about it later on. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes, sir.
I I look at stuff like I used to see these pictures of neo Nazis at Nation of Islam meetings. You know what I'm saying? And it's interesting that you bring that point about Fred Hampton just because you can see how the different organizations were trying to find their own path. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I guess more even in that regard, it was more a separate path because it was segregation. They wanted to stay segregated. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It, and then on the flip side, like you were saying, the other people, Fred Hampton was trying to bring cats together. You know what I'm saying? For a common cause. So it's just interesting seeing that timeline and how it played out. You know what I'm saying? Just from somebody that won't dare. So all right, let's go. Let's backtrack a little bit. So I remember you saying you were in prison, right? So
Yes,
like
sir.
I mean, what down what down? I mean, what happened? You know what I'm saying?
Um, well, I did some time back in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I had came home. It was a little short bit, and as they say, when you're doing those little short sentences, you don't really learn nothing. And
Yeah.
I'm still young. I'm still in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home. I eventually had got into some trouble. I was accosted by the authorities. They tried to pin a charge
Mm-hmm.
on me, and because I didn't want to, I wasn't going back to prison, so I went on a run. I
Mm-hmm.
left Chicago. I actually ended up in Maryland first.
Mm-hmm.
I got to Maryland. I ended up getting into some trouble out in Maryland. Like I said, I'm knee deep in the streets now, and I'm a fugitive.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up getting in trouble. Um, Me and the police out in Maryland, we was at odds with each other. So I eventually left from out of Maryland and went to Virginia. It was a guy that I knew out of Virginia who was from DC. We ended up hooking up with each other, and then one thing led to another, and I ended up in prison with a 60-year sentence.
Hey.
I didn't tell on nobody. I did. I just went ahead. I did the time. You know what I'm
Did the
saying?
time.
I don't even know what happened to dude. I don't even know what happened to dude. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah.
you know,
So,
and it was a petty crime, a petty ass crime, an armed robbery. I got 50 years actually for the sawed off. It was a sawed off shotgun involved in the crime. I got 50
mm,
years for the sawed off, because Illinois Department of Corrections and Virginia Commonwealth came into agreement with each other. Um, of course, those guys that come from out of state, especially like guys that come from out of Chicago, we already got that bad rap of being, they had me down as a gang leader.
mm,
And I'm getting ready to influence the Virginia population with this gang nonsense and stuff like
mm,
that. It had me
mm,
marked down as a threat to society.
mm,
So they made it, and I'm on the run. So instead of violating me on my parole, they asked Virginia if Virginia could keep me off the street, that they wasn't going to violate the parole or what have you. So Virginia, and the feds could have picked up the gun charge, but the feds didn't, because of the sawed off and how it was cut. So
mm.
Virginia ended up giving me 50 years for the sawed off shotgun and 10 years for the robbery. I did 25 years on that and came on home.
So, so when in prison, is that when you started becoming? I mean, I know you already had like a foundation. Is that when you were able to focus and really start on knowledge yourself, or was it a transition? Like what, you know what I'm saying? How did that roll?
Um, okay, so when I first went into prison, um, and you're correct, I had already had a foundation, for the age that I was at the time. I was like
Mm,
23, 24. I was pretty sharp, like I said, I started school at 3. I went to so all of the lessons that the nation of gods or earths have acquired, I learned that stuff already. So
mm,
I was already kind of shy with the various schools of thoughts and stuff like that. It's just that I was attracted to the street life. So when I got into the prison, because I was from out of state, a lot of that stuff went out the window.
mm,
It was all about me striving to gain my respect. I'm in a place where I don't know nobody,
mm,
and so I did a whole bunch of knucklehead stuff, um, you know, which was eventually it was necessary, but I
mm,
perhaps could have dealt with a lot of those situations differently in hindsight.
mm,
Nonetheless, I did a whole bunch of knucklehead stuff. Eventually, it wasn't until I turned around like 35, 36 ish, something like that, that I
mm,
got tired of just, what I'm saying, I just got tired. And
mm,
I did a whole lot of time in solitary confinement
mm.
because of my knucklehead behavior.
Gotcha.
Um, what and this specific time I was in solitary confinement for like 2 years.
Mm,
Um, and it one day I just woke up and it just clicked. Like, look, I'm tired. I had to start. I had lost all my little good time. I had lost all that. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? So I had to kind of like earn a lot of that stuff back. You know
mm,
what I'm saying? In order for me to at least have a shot at parole or what have you. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it just clicked. It just clicked.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, even when I was doing the knucklehead stuff, though, I still did read. I always was engaged in some cipher where the gods was building, and I used to swing my sword, because I thought I knew it all. I had a
Mm,
whole bunch of data in my
yeah.
head from the books and stuff that I read, stuff like that. But it once it clicked, though, a lot of that stuff I had to kind of like you know unlearn as well, because it was about me now finding peace within
Mhm,
myself. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
In order for me to actually project peace, I had to be peaceful within
Peaceful
myself,
within self, yeah.
and I had to
Internally.
also, because I had went in there and I had made the decision to shut down my so-called emotional side,
Yeah,
um, or as they would say, no homo, the feminine aspect of our being, the other 26
yeah.
chromosomes or what have you.
Mhm,
I had to shut that down. So when it clicked, I had to learn how to actually motive. I had to learn how to walk with that again.
yeah.
Because if I'd have came home without that aspect of me, I would have had a chip on my shoulder,
Mhm,
thinking that the world owed me something, thinking that everybody owed me something. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't have been able to adjust as quickly as I did when I came home.
You had to become balanced again. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying, right?
yeah. So it
Yeah,
was
you had
all
to
about
become
balance.
balanced. Yeah, definitely
Um,
shout out to the 5% Nation. You know what I'm saying? I always love, man, and you a good example, man. A lot of these good brothers and sisters, man, that are awake and aware now. You know what I'm saying? Them lessons. You know what I'm saying? And what Clarence 13X. You know what I'm saying? Everybody dealing with that. A lot of people came to that school and their knowledge. You know what I'm saying? To get where they are today, man. So I got to give a shout out and respect um to them. But
it's funny
mhm,
in Chicago, right? Um, we there wasn't a so-called 5% situation.
mhm,
The first time I actually became aware of that, I was actually sitting in our county jail, Cook County Jail, and we was watching Soul Train,
uh-huh.
and Wu Tang was on there. This is the first time we had even seen this stuff, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Method Man was performing the METHOD, and
MATHOG,
we was like, yo,
man.
these some clown, goofball dudes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when I eventually end up meeting an actual 5%er,
Mhm,
and when we began to dialogue with each other, a lot
mhm,
of the stuff that he was speaking on, it sounds so familiar to me, and I was like,
mhm.
man, that sounds like the Nation of Islam stuff, and that was the stuff that I
Yeah,
grew up
exactly.
in.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm
That's
saying?
connection. You
And
saw
then,
the connection.
yeah, no doubt. And also, fortunately for myself, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of the elders. I had the opportunity to meet brothers like Yahweh Ben Yahweh. I had the
Mm,
opportunity to meet Ben Amin. I had the
mhm,
opportunity to meet a lot of the elder brothers. The only one that
mhm.
I didn't meet was the Honorable Dr. Malachi Z. York.
Okay.
However, I was able to come into contact with a lot of his material because I ended up rubbing elbows with a guy who was a Nubian who was
Uh-huh.
visiting Chicago and had introduced me to. And I've always been a guy I've always been an avid reader. I've
Yeah.
always had a taste for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding.
Mhm,
So whenever something like that came into my circumference, it wasn't
mhm.
nothing for me to kind of like delve into it and see what it was all about. You know what I'm saying? And get out of it what I thought I deemed necessary for my specific quest and throw away the rest.
So what was your what was your path like? Because you talked about Dr. York, you talk about Nation Islam 5%, and like what was your timeline? You know what I'm saying, as far as you know, getting introduced to these masters' information.
Um, that's kind of hard because a lot of that stuff after I went, see, I left my household like when I was 12, 13.
Mhm.
I went into the streets. So it was like by the time I turned like 17, 18, and after like doing my little juvenile stints in juvie and actually starting to go into the adult like Cook County and then Joliet and they going down the road that I began to actually start learning a lot of that stuff. It came in it just came in it just came. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's hard to actually put a timeline on it. I know growing up though in my household, I was already introduced to the Hebrew Israelite ideology. Um,
Mhm.
as again, Buddhism. I remember growing up, my dad and my mother, we used to all they used to take moments out of each day, and they'll have us sitting down, me and my siblings, and we'll be meditating while the children outside
Mhm.
playing. Um, and for a long time, we wasn't even allowed to even play with the children. My parents felt that everybody was what they call worldly. You know what I'm
Really?
saying? So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, man, because see, I got introduced to see, I had like a process of different master teachers, and then I got to Dr. York. But the interesting thing was is because I went through that and everything Dr. York was saying, he always showed love. You know what I'm saying, when it came to um all the great masters. You know what I'm saying? Like, you read the holy tablets and you got
Yes.
all the time. So I never really had that kind of combative spirit because of the time frame I came in of anybody else. Like I never what we arguing with 5% is not Hebrew is, you know what I'm saying? That was just, I ain't really much of an arguer anyway, but it was a very good perspective to be able to embrace, being at the time, to be embrace everybody what they believed in, and just being like, cool, let's run with it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I was always thankful for that type of open mindedness. You know what I'm saying? When it came
Yes,
to all of us, because we all just trying to find that path. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
So
sir.
you know what I'm saying. So all right, so and now I'm so happy. See, this is another reason why I was so happy to get to get you on here, man. Because see, I don't know if you saw, I was talking to the good brother Rod Hayes on here. I had him on here. I had the good brother Darvis Osiris on here, Darvid Osiris, and I had Chief Nighthawk, right? And
Mhm.
all these cats that come with American Anything Hard with receipts after receipts after receipts. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, I did back, and I talk about this all the time. In the '90s, I read that book that Dr. York wrote, called "Let's Set the Record Straight." Right?
Yes, sir. Classic.
Yeah, yeah, and that cracked my neck in half. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But see, the thing is, up until recently, because a lot of people like you and all these good brothers and sisters out here that are giving like a backstory to all that, it even made more of a connection as far as the Native American or the American Indian aspect, and how we were already here and all that stuff that I read about in that "Let's Set the Record Straight" book. So could you kind of like, hi- I know, like, historically speaking, so to speak, as much as you can, you know what I'm saying, kind of paint a picture for these people that don't really understand that most of us here are really American Indians, and how you know we were written out by paper. Could you kind of go into that?
Um, okay, so first and foremost, I'd like to give respect to all those brothers that you just spoke on. I do not know them brothers personally, but I have had the opportunity since I've been home and introduced to social media to peruse a lot of their material.
Mhm.
And I like I said, I enough respect. I'm not as scholarly as those guys.
Mhm.
I have a hard time with dates and stuff like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Although I'm an avid reader, I'm one of those type of guys. I strive to speak with the balance of my heart and my mind from my soul, without um, at least at, at least minimizing regurgitating something.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
that
yeah.
makes any sense.
I'm the same way. I'm exactly the same way, because I'm gonna tell you, growing up around all these Nuwapian teachers that I've seen. I mean, these teachers, like, if I if I had some of these teachers that where I would say, what, 10, I'd probably rate myself like a 5 or 6. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes, sir.
people are just meant to do that. So it's all good. So yeah, but
So
give us what you got.
from what I've been able to gather on my own by utilizing my higher senses or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the majority of us did not come over here on a slave ship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even when you delve into the different wars that transpired on the land, at least the ones that has been documented
Mm-hmm.
by the conquerors,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to be mindful. Ever since the invaders began to wage war on the indigenous people of this landmass, we've always been at war with them. They just
Mm-hmm.
they haven't documented all of those wars prior
Mm-hmm.
to the 1600s or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
However, with that being said, let's use for example the very first war, well, one of the first wars that they have documented, the
Mm-hmm.
War of Independence,
Yeah.
right? So, if I'm correct, this is around the time when the 13 colonies are striving to break away from the crown of Britain,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, with that being said, these individuals, although they are here, have set up shop here on America's land, the soil, they are still considered British, because that's
Mm-hmm.
that's where they're actually
That's where they're
from,
from. Yeah.
right? So the way that they tell the story, how the war unfolds, that these 13 colonies, along with the aid and assistance of, I'm surmising, the Iroquois Confederacy and some
Mm-hmm.
other tribes or what have you, defeats Britain. So um, it just smelled fishy to me, right?
Mhm.
Because knowing that these people do a whole bunch of lying, a whole bunch of fabricating,
Mhm.
and the way how they tell the story of history, a lot of that stuff is not actually accurate.
Mhm.
It doesn't really make sense.
Mhm.
So I decided to go look at a specific book that dealt with the Indian affairs laws and treaties,
Okay.
right? Because I was interested in knowing which specific tribes um, matriarchs or clan mothers' signatures were on the treaties.
Mm.
Because mind you, once again, our ancestors lived within a matriarchal
Mhm.
society. So, from what I can gather, there is no female signature on none of that stuff.
Mm.
Right? Is a bunch of so-called chiefs,
Yeah.
and I do know and understand that the men were were delegated to deal with diplomacy, outside of going to hunt and protecting the stronghold.
Mhm.
So I can understand why you probably might see a male's signature.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, so I'm reading the treaties, and each one of these treaties have one thing that's in common.
Mhm.
When when the British or the 13 colonies or those who were colonizing, period, whether it be the French or the Spaniards or whoever it may have been, each one of these treaties places the Indians under the protection of whoever it is that they're signing the treaty with,
Mhm.
originally taking them out of their proper standings as being Indian or
Indigenous.
indigenous to
Indigenous. Yeah.
becoming subjects of whoever it is that's conquering them.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
now, going back to the specific war, since
Mhm.
it was a war with the British, what it made those specific Indians British subjects,
Mhm.
right? So when they tell the story, you're we're thinking that the 13 colonies then defeated these people and was able to live on the land, when the whole time those individuals who were living in those 13 colonies were in cahoots with the crown and was steadily moving our people off that specific tracts of land
Mhm.
to set up the 13 colonies so
Mhm.
that there's no more Indians living there.
Yeah.
And that was the first case of paper genocide that
Paper
was not
genocide.
even documented. You
Yeah.
just have to be able to read in between the lines.
Yeah.
It
I
took
see
them
that.
out of being Indians. The whole time you're not thinking is that it was Indians involved. You're thinking that it's British subjects. The whole
Mhm.
time they're Indians because now they've been placed underneath the protection of the British crown.
Mm. Makes perfect
Crazy.
sense. Yeah. See, that's the
Yeah.
thing, man. We're not told anything remotely close of true American history. Not even remotely close. You know what I'm saying? And I was talking to Chief Nighthawk. Down in Georgia, like down on the Chattahoochee River, they talk about they have this whole plaque and it talks about the Trail of Tears, right? And it was
Yes, sir.
interesting to me, right? Because they called those people that were in the Trail of Tears on that plaque, they called them prehistoric. You know what I mean? They called them prehistoric. So what other people do you know of this land that's prehistoric? That could be prehistoric on this land.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So see, it's a trip. Just the more and more we just are awakening in this day and time, the more we realize everything we told was a lie. You know what I'm saying? Damn near, damn historically speaking. Well, in a bunch of ways. Shoot, I can keep on. I can talk about food. I can talk about the earth not being hollow or having I could go on and on, but we were just continuously misled by these people. You know what I'm saying? That have been teaching us with the information. You know what I'm saying? Completely misled. So paper genocide happens. So tell me if I'm wrong. So you got all these Native Americans that look like me and you here, and other Native Americans as well that look like the atypical ones you see with the straight hair. You know what I'm saying? You got all these people here, and then next thing you know, like you said, paper
Yeah, they're Johnny
genocide.
come latelys though.
Yeah, Johnny come lately. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, I mean, just like in a book when Doc was breaking it down, he said that most of the people that looked like they're half black, half Chinese people anyway. So they had to be Johnny became like because they didn't even that group of genetics weren't even there yet. You know what I'm saying? And then they took on tribes from other people, but definitely, you know what I'm saying? What um so you got people the Native American Indians, woolly haired, dark skinned, most of them, original people here. And then eventually there's a takeover and the people say, okay, and tell me if I'm wrong. So people say on paper, they say, wait a minute, all you people that aren't phenotypically that look like black people, black or American Indians being black and woolly haired, melanated, y'all are now Negroes as opposed to American Indian, like overnight. Is that correct? Is that kind of how it went?
Yeah. Well, okay, so it's just like I'm not religious at all. However, I have an extensive knowledge of a lot of the sacred texts.
Yeah.
So just like in for instance the Bible,
Hmm.
when you be reading those passages that deal with it has a whole lot of it seems like it's some stuff that's unbelievable or fantasy
Hmm.
or the way how they like for instance Ezekiel the way how he describes certain stuff.
Hmm.
The people at that time describe things to the best of their knowledge or their
Hmm.
comprehension, what they know. So that's the same concept when it came to the invade or the foreigners. When the foreigners came on the landmass, they described the people best as what they knew. They knew wherever they were from because they themselves at the beginning when they first came over here, most of them were melanated as well. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
Or at least range through the various shades of how melanated people come. So that's how they described us. They described us the best way that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
You understand?
Hmm.
Um, without, I'm quite sure we ourselves didn't actually even call ourselves Indians.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
something that we eventually say, okay, we're gonna stick with that because you know what I'm saying. But that's how they described us to the best of their
Hmm.
ability.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what they also did, it was because we all look so much alike, it was easy for them to part of the paper genocide was also taking the surnames. See, a lot
Hmm.
of us think that our surnames come from a foreign quote
Hmm.
unquote slave master, when
Hmm.
that is not the case. I'm not saying all of it, but most of our surnames are originally our surnames
Our names. Yeah.
from the land. And what the invaders have done is taken the surnames for themselves, and that's how they were able to acquire the vast amounts of the land itself,
Mm.
because the surnames is connected to the land. You see what
Like,
I'm saying?
yeah. So
Um,
like
perfect
Jethro.
example.
Oh, go ahead.
Perfect example. My surname is Tutwiler,
Uh-huh.
right? Um, from me doing my own personal research, and from the stuff that my mother and my father have shared with me, I know that like there's a town in Mississippi that's called Tutwiler. Alabama is full up with institutions, including a prison that's named after a woman named Julia Tutwiler, a
Hmm.
woman's prison. And I know that my family, part of my family on the Tutwiler side, at least, migrated from Virginia
Hmm.
when the Iroquois Confederacy and the Cherokees went through there, and, with in alliance with the invaders, trying to get rid of all of the like the Saponi tribe.
Hmm.
Specific tribe that my family is connected to in that area is the Tutelo tribe. It's
Hmm.
just like my last name, pretty much.
Yeah.
T-U-T, Tutelo, Tutwiler. So the way that how they tell the story is that once they came through there and they took the land from the people, that the surviving remnants of those tribes eventually went down to Pennsylvania, then went back up to New York, and then eventually settled in Canada.
Hmm.
Which some people may have done that, but that's
Hmm.
not the case with everybody. Just like
Everybody. Yeah.
everywhere else, A lot of people didn't actually leave from where they were actually living at, or they went somewhere else. My family, specifically ended up in places like Mississippi and
Mm-hmm.
Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they own land.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now our name is not even, and it's my last name. It's not even
Yeah.
attached to the
Mm-hmm.
land no more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the faces that you see that's connected to these lands, these places where these big edifices and stuff at, is now the face of either an Anglo or those who were more real Moorish by
Yeah.
descent.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So that's how they did that though, man.
I mean, y'all, see, y'all, and I'm so happy. That's why I'm so happy to have you here. Cause see, and just like we both telling you, man, if you haven't, go get that book. Let's Set the Record Straight by Dr. York. Please go get that. You know what I'm saying? Because that
Yes.
thing, it sets the record straight in so many ways of what we're talking about, and it'll open the door to you to really understand what really happened in America and dealing with Native Americans. And this brother is living testimony because he's done the research. You know what I'm saying? He's telling you where his family's from. He's, you know what I'm saying, giving a name. You know what I'm saying? Like all the rest of these good brothers. So this isn't just stuff that people are making up. You know what I'm saying? You can literally, and the brother David or Osiris does it all the time, man. He walks you right through, has the receipts on what's happening once you do research to see where you come from. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Most of us were already here. Most of us, were here for, hundreds of thousands, millions of years. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, we got to start really talk about we all have to really dig into our real history as far as, Native American Indians, or however you want to call it, or Native Indigenous people in Americas. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So,
genealogy is very important. You
yeah,
know, and I myself is at fault for doing this at one time or another, where I attempted to connect myself to something very ancient, right? Like talking about like for instance, there's talk of the lost continent of Mu, how this is supposed to be Atlantis, this, that, and the third, or even
mhm,
Egypt. That's
yeah,
cool. However, if you can't actually name like your grandmother or your great grandmother or your
yeah,
great great grandmother,
hmm
how the hell can you connect yourself to something way back then and you don't even know if you actually connected to that? So
yeah,
that's why genealogy is very important, and a DNA test is not going to tell you that.
yeah. That's fairy tales. That's fairy
Yeah,
tales. That's
pretty
wishful
much.
thinking. You know what I'm saying? It's good for the psyche because of what happened to us. But what you're talking about is just real in reality as far as the
Right.
receipts that's backing it up. You know what I'm saying? And, I did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? That's how I found out, my folks on my side, on one side, I'm still digging too. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with,
Likewise.
yeah, on my grandmother's side, this, this lady right here. You know what I'm saying? On my grandmother's side, her being Cherokee. So I'm still digging on the other side too, but and they were from South Carolina, so I'm sure, what I'm saying, it's all coming together now once you start digging as far as, who we are, not only in that regard as here, but also all over the globe. You know what I'm saying?
And us as a people, we also got to get out of that. We as much as we claim to be conscious, we still be dealing with colorism
Yeah,
to a certain
I
extent, right?
agree. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so just because the face of America as it was seen was portrayed as a darker hued individual does
Hmm.
not mean that everybody that's aboriginal or indigenous was actually just dark skin. We
Hmm.
came in various shades, and this was
Hmm.
was without this was without contact with any foreigner.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm
Undiluted.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they say
and
that
you learn that through
mhm.
genealogy as well. When
Yeah.
you do genealogy, your genealogy is going to tell you whether or not you had somebody foreign.
Yeah. They
And
came
then
in.
even if you had one person that's foreign, that particular percentage of blood is not going to that doesn't diminish all your indigenous blood. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyone,
Well,
but the point is, the colorism. We have to step outside that the colorism because we're still playing the same game as the the status game.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? The free white persons and the black, we still playing that game if we continuously deal with the colorism of things. And
You can't
as
even.
they say, the color of law is, and that's how the de facto government has been getting us for this long, because
Yeah.
they have not
Mm-hmm.
actually been dealing with law itself. They've been
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the color of law.
Colorism. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just dealing something very simple. The San people, right, of South Africa, right? They say they're some of the oldest genetics on this planet Earth, correct? You know what I'm saying? Um, they're lighter skinned. They still got the kinky nine ether hair. They're lighter skinned and they got the slanted eyes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they're saying that they pretty much what birthed most of the that mitochondrial DNA and that female pretty much birthed everybody on this planet. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
And this is somebody lighter than me. The San
mhm.
people, you know what I'm saying? Like more like your complexion, the San people
Yeah,
down there. You can look it up yourself. Look it up. Just Google it right now.
I'm familiar
San
with
folk.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah, you know what
familiar
I'm
with
saying?
them.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
they say
So
they are mostly responsible for what we know today as the Asians.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and it's interesting. I saw a whole thing about how these Chinese geneticists they trying to find out where the genes from. They come to find out they're like, they see that they come from Africa. Now you see a lot of the Chinese people in Africa right now, and they're mixing with where they came from originally. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And what they gonna come out looking like? Again, Native Americans. You know what I'm saying? Native American, Indians with the jet black hair. You know what I'm saying? So like you said earlier, it's just cycles, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just cycles. Even dealing with the genetic thing, and it it's it's interesting to me. But so let me ask you this question, because I've been to Chicago, I think once, maybe twice. I know in Georgia, when you go up 75, yeah, 75, um, they got the Etowah Mounds up there, right?
Mhm.
Um, right on the river. It's a trip, man, because I be thinking about, like, in my mind's eye, just thinking about had that it had that whole like city right next to the river, just like Tamaray, just like Egypt, right next to the Nile River. So, are there places in Chicago like that or Illinois overall?
Yeah, the Cahokia Mounds,
Okay, I've
um,
heard of him. Yeah.
in Cairo, Illinois.
Yeah.
Um, that was one of the most sacredest places in that Pacific region. It is
Mhm.
actually connected to the rest of the Etowah Mounds, and all of that stuff
Mm.
is, is connected to each other. The way
Ah.
how it's set up. Mind
Mm.
the majority of those our ancestors,
Mhm.
um, they migrated from the
Mhm.
Mississippian area,
Mhm.
and set up shop up along the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River is what they are calling the Nile, right?
Mhm.
And that river connects to all those
Mm.
major little spots, those major cities. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? That's why those cities are even important to this day.
Yeah.
It's always been like that. Um, Even with the see, also you have to remember the invaders didn't really build anything over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
They refurbished.
Mhm.
They burnt a lot of stuff up, and then they refurbished. They burnt a lot of the records up, because I'm quite sure we kept our own records. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Although we had an oral tradition, I'm quite sure, because we are, even to this day, we are intelligent beings. So I'm
Mhm.
quite sure we still kept some form of fashion
Mhm.
of records.
You ain't lose it all.
No, we didn't lose it all, but they
Yeah.
burnt the most of it up,
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
got the rest of it in some vault somewhere. No, like under
Exactly.
the Vatican
And
City,
the Vatican. Yeah.
Library of Congress, that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But all of those places were connected to each other. You know what I'm saying? It was part of what we call the Mississippian culture, and most of them, the Mississippian culture is related to the Mayan civilization. Um, see, our fight with these invaders have been going on like forever.
Mhm.
It's just that a lot of the wars they don't talk about, and then when they do talk about it, they talk about it from their perspective, just
Perspective.
like how
Yeah.
they tell on the TV, Law and Order, the good guy, the so-called
Yeah.
good guy is
Always
always going
win.
to win.
Yeah. 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 No. I thought in that place you were talking about, they said that it was massive. Like it was one. It was like it was kind of like the Teotihuacan of America, right?
Yeah, pretty
The
much.
yeah. 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 You know.
As a matter of fact, it's one of the places where you could find allegedly, right? I mean, I myself have not seen it, but I've seen people post the stuff. I mean, I personally haven't put my eyes on it. So, but allegedly, you found artifacts of personages like Alexander the Great. This
Mhm.
guy, Abu Bakari, when
Mhm.
he came over,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
find a lot of artifacts that was connected to that Pacific expedition
Yeah.
in that area as
Mhm.
well. You know, and
Mhm.
where they buried some of their because how the story goes. When they the first time they set sail over here, um, it was like about 10 to 15 ships. Only one ship ended up coming back. They don't
Mhm.
know what happened to the
The rest of them.
other ships. But legend has it that they actually did land in the Americas, and they
Mhm.
ended up in that specific area,
Mm.
around Illinois, in Illinois area, right?
Mhm.
And so that's why you find a lot of their artifacts there, even artifacts that may appear to be Hebrewish, as they would say,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Greekish. You know what I'm saying? You find all
Mhm.
those type of artifacts in that area.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of I'm a I'm going to be on my. I've already started my Indiana Leroy jersey. That's what I like. Indiana Leroy journey, I should say, because I like going. Like I told you, I like going to these um places and seeing it for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's interesting to me once we start in um bringing in the Olmecan culture and being connected to like the Mayans. And it's almost like now I'm thinking about this now. It's almost like the same thing because a lot of these places, even talking about like Teotihuacan, they're saying it was way older and it was actually people came later and found it and settled there and used it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That would be like the straighter head. So straighter head indigenous people, native people that land, the straight haired, dark skinned people. But the Olmecs are obviously Negroid looking. You know what I'm saying? Over time again. So it's like I'm still, and I did read a good book that my good brother sent me, and it does make the connection. But it's like the vast majority of that stuff in the Americas is Olmecian, and later it was adapted by Mayan.
That is correct. If I'm not mistaken, there were people living in that area.
Hmm.
Uh, but then some people did come, um, that was responsible for the flourishing of the civilizations
Yeah.
there. One of the groups of people, is actually like the name that I utilize on social media. And the
Hmm.
reason why I use it is because it's closely related to my actual
Yeah.
surname,
Surname.
which is
Yeah.
Tuttle, right?
Hmm.
Most people pronounce it Tuttle.
Hmm.
However, it's just like saying King Tut. You wouldn't say King Tut, you would say King Tut,
Hmm.
right? Tut and Common. So it's
Toots
the same
Uncle Moon.
pronunciation, right?
Yeah.
You feel? So these people, um, I'm surmising. I'm still doing a little research on that as well. I'm surmising that, due to warfare by some invaders, they eventually migrated.
Hmm.
That's what most of the migrations come from, because of invaders,
Yeah. Wars.
little wars that be transpiring. So they
Hmm.
migrated into what we know today as Mexico
Hmm.
and Central America, and established those civilizations. It was once again, it was already people there.
Yeah.
We were The people that were there were related to
Yeah,
these
they're
other
related.
people.
Yep, they were
They
their
were more,
children.
more or less like distant relations. So
Yeah,
you know what I'm
exactly.
saying? They eventually they came down there.
Hmm.
They had a higher civilization, and
Yeah,
so they helped them to build the civilization up, and that's where you get the Mayan civilization.
yeah.
Uh,
And the Inca, Mayan, Inca, Aztec,
yeah, no doubt.
and so
Yes,
on.
sir.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because on my trip to the Mexico City museum, we went there and we saw this stucco painting, like one of the paintings on the wall. It was very interesting to me because they differentiated the god that they were worshiping as a darker black god as opposed to their skin, even though their skin was my complexion, but
Hmm.
the god they were worshiping was jet black.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That and
Yes,
they
sir.
they they made a distinction between who was being worshipped and who was worshiping. You know what I'm
That is
saying?
correct.
And I saw that over and over again, man. I'm gonna tell you, man, y'all think y'all think some of y'all people when you go to Cancun, just go down there to get torn up and have a good time. Go to Tulum, man. Take an excursion to Tulum. Take an excursion. You go to Mexico City. Teotihuacan's like what, an hour and a half from there. Go see these places because once you see these places for yourself, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this, man, because of the things I've seen and these ancient relics. I went to DC maybe 3 or 4 months ago, right? And DC now reminds me of Space Mountain. You know what I mean? And I know people love it. I mean, it's all good. You can love all this stuff. My point is that once you see something truly old and ancient, any replicas it doesn't hold up to it. You
Yes,
know what I'm
sir.
saying? You know what I'm saying? And like, whenever you see these places, you see the antiquity and how they just sit there, bam, sitting there. You know what I mean? Been there for the longest time, not moving, done perfectly. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
And
anything
the
else is,
architecture is unmatched.
yeah,
There's nothing
unmatched.
that's so-called new and advanced that
No,
matches
that,
the radiance of those structures.
man, I'm telling you, man. You walk up them steps. I'm talking about all these places. Well, I mean, you can't walk up in Chichen Itza. They don't let you, but you can go to some of the places. But you see this stuff, man. Some of these places where you can walk up, and you're like, literally, how in the hell did they do this? It's almost unfathomable, literally, how these people did that. You know what I'm saying? But it's interesting because, like, I remember this one time, Professor James Smalls, he was talking, right? And he was like, yeah, you black people ain't who you used to be. You know what I'm saying? He's talking about us today. And just thinking about, if you go in your mind's eye, all y'all people out there, you know what I'm saying? Imagine the conversation. Me and brother, we talking heavy right now, but imagine our conversation 30,000 years ago if we sitting in the same spot, us speaking our own language. You know what I'm saying? Us in our imagine the level of of intellect, science. Just think what we talking about 30,000 years ago. You know what I'm saying? That's what we are. That's what we get into. Like you said, cycles. You know what I'm saying? And going back to what I was saying earlier, like you were saying, I got to give thanks to all those master teachers that got us prepared for this time frame because that's exactly what they did.
That is
You know what I'm
correct.
saying? You know what
You
I'm
know
saying?
that brilliance that you speak of. We were able to see it or witness it because, mind you, majority of the great inventions of the Americas were made by our people.
And we did
So
it.
it's a remnant of that brilliance.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
You're right. You're right. Yeah, it's a modern day.
I
It's a
mean,
modern day version
it's
of,
still dumbed down. It's dumbed down,
yeah,
but yet it was still as
high level.
more farther advanced than the invaders could have ever imagined.
Yeah,
We have invented everything over here. We didn't know everything the invaders attribute themselves to. They either stolen it or somehow just had a hand in it because they probably financed it.
yeah. My
You know what I'm
my
saying? And put
homeboy,
their name
mm,
on it.
my
They,
homeboy,
they didn't
Supreme
invent nothing.
Understanding. Yeah, my homeboy Supreme Understanding, he wrote a book called Black People Created Everything. And I was just like, yeah, what I'm saying? And you gotta, check out check out Supreme's, all his books are dope, man. You know what I'm saying? Again, shout out to the 5%ers out there, Supreme and 5%ers up. But yeah, but like, hold on a second. There we go. No, and you're right, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's just it's so beautiful to it's just beautiful to have this conversation in which we can actually go back and be able to show facts with receipts. You know what I'm saying? We don't gotta make nothing up. You know what I'm saying? Like all these other and not only that, the great master teachers before us. It's what's the brother that just transitioned recently, Rashiki, the brother that,
Yeah.
what I'm saying, we just kept on traveling everywhere, writing all the books, and he's like, yo, y'all were there, this is you, y'all were there, this is you, y'all were there, this is you,
Rashidi,
that's you.
Renoko.
Renoko, yeah, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, he seen it for himself and documented books over times again. It's no more, it's not, it's there's no more debate. You know what I'm saying? There's too many receipts. We shoot our
Man,
ancestors. Hmm.
I wish I could get my dad on something like this, right?
Hmm.
Man, my dad, he's a very humble. He's a warrior, yet
Yeah.
he's very humble, and he's
Hmm.
old fashioned. He don't like none of this tech. He don't have no
I
cell
don't
phone,
blame
none
him.
of that stuff, right?
Hmm.
However, he's from the era where like he knew that guy that you talking
Hmm.
about. He
Yeah.
knew him. He knew Dick Gregory. He
Yeah.
knew he. That's how I was able to meet guys like the likes of Yahweh Ben Yahweh was like through my dad. My dad, those that was his crowd. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of stuff that I learned outside of just reading or doing the research myself, I learned
Hmm.
straight from my mother and my father. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His library is so immense, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Vast.
he's written a couple of books himself. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of one of the latest books that he's writing. But he once again he's one of those guys. He don't look for fame. He don't his stuff. He don't even sell his stuff.
Hmm.
What he'll do is he'll say, "Hey man, if you want to just send me some, you just send me some." But you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That's how humble the guy is. But
Yeah. Yeah.
he's a wealth of information.
Yeah.
I wish I
Yeah.
could get him on something like this.
Yeah, man. I mean, who knows, man? Maybe you can talking to him. You know what I'm saying? Who knows, right? Yeah, man. But yeah, man. It's just it's just it's amazing to me because I ain't gonna. I talk about this all the time, bro. I'll be like, I didn't ever think that I would. What I'm witnessing right now in this day and time, you know what I'm saying? Um, I honestly, I didn't think it would happen this way. And the way it's just like creeping up, you know what I'm saying? Like you just feel the energy, like this past summer, even now to a certain degree, but this past summer, when you walk out in the sun, you feel something besides the heat. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And they had a one brother I saw recently. He went out in the sun. He was showing his arm, and his melanin was glistening, like it was diamonds in it. You know what I'm saying? It's just this technology and how we were suppressed as far as history and everything about us. It's all slowly coming back, and it's so interesting because they're doing everything in their power to stop it. Like you said at the
Yeah.
beginning, say, but because they know their time is up.
Yeah, they have a specific script,
Hmm.
um, and make it so bad. A lot of this stuff, right, that we are bear witnessing to in this day and
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
I read a lot about a lot of this stuff back in the
Yeah.
day, like
Hmm.
a lot of the old books. The Unseen Hand by Ralph Epperson,
Hmm.
um, New World Order, also by Ralph Epperson, Rule by Secrecy by Tex Marks,
Yeah.
the Pale Horse.
Hmm.
All of these books
Yeah.
I read years ago, while doing my bids and stuff like
Hmm.
that. You know what I'm saying? And once again, like I said, my dad, he has a very, very extensive library. So even back then, I used to read books that was dealing with what we're seeing transpiring
Yeah.
today. I
Yeah.
remember my
Yeah.
dad when I was real young. I used to didn't understand why he used to always say this. He never liked wearing jewelry
Mm-hmm.
at all, and he was always one of those type of guys that he always felt like I used to think he was being paranoid, but he
Mm-hmm.
always felt like somebody was watching. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually he explained it to me. He said one of the reasons why he doesn't wear jewelry is because they can easily put some inside the jury and either track you or just pretty much just be monitoring you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and he also used to tell me about, and this is before I didn't, right now we're witnessing what they're creating. Elon Musk and all of them, they're creating or adding on to the manufacturing of what is known as the beast. This
Mm-hmm.
this this great big giant computer that's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be connected the internet of body, the body
Mm-hmm.
of internet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back then, like in the early 70s, the late 70s and early 80s, my dad used to tell me about this book of, I mean, this computer. And one of the guys that he used to read about, who was making mention about this book, was the guy none other known as Aleister Crowley.
Aleister
He
Crowley.
connected
Yeah.
him. He called himself the Beast, and he
Yeah.
connected himself to that computer
Mm-hmm.
that was supposed to have been made in a future time.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we're actually living through that specific
Through that
script
time. Yep.
where we have to what we have to remember as a people is it's their script. It's
Yeah.
not our
It's
script.
not our script.
It's
Yep.
their script. If we buy into the fact that it's our script, then it becomes our script, and then
Mm-hmm.
we suffer the consequences by either rebelling against what they got going on
Mm-hmm.
or assimilating into what they got going on.
Gotcha.
But if
Yep.
you are aware of the fact that it's their script and not your script, it doesn't matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because we're calibrating on a whole different frequency
Mm-hmm.
than they are. It's their
Yeah.
script. You know what I'm
It
saying?
it.
From the sacred texts, from the
Mm-hmm.
translations of all these, from even the Rosetta Stone, all of that
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, yeah, it's good knowledge and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, it's still their script because
Yeah.
they're the ones who presented this stuff to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's their script.
I I always, you know, I always looked at things like just like what you're saying. Like when I first started culture. Here's what I'm gonna say. Culture. We need to get back to our culture.
Yes, sir.
Be it Native American Indian culture, ban it, whatever culture that is of yours and own. That's what we really need to get back to because everything the brother just said. If you're in your culture and in your right mind, like Nuwapians, like quote unquote Sabians, own language, own calendar, own holidays, you know what I'm saying, own doctrine. So, if you submerge yourself into culture, you know what I'm saying, then everything else, like the scam, it's like Dapu said. I love when he called the pandemic, he called it the scam, right?
Mhm.
Like if you radio's off, right? Your TV's off, right? And you out in the country, how did that affect you at all?
If
You know what
it's
I'm
if it's
saying? Huh?
I think it would be it would serve as a great benefit to you because all of this stuff we use it now. Nonetheless, all of this stuff is emitting a certain frequency
Mm-hmm.
that's geared to actually destroy us.
Mm-hmm.
Though most people who are great researchers of ancient antiquity,
Mm-hmm.
as far as ancient civilizations, especially those who like to delve into the story of Atlantis and Lemuria, um, their downfall was technology.
Yeah.
They strayed away from spirituality
Mm-hmm.
and began to worship science or technology. That was the downfall. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Yeah, volcanoes and floods and stuff was all part of it. However, just
Mm-hmm.
like in this day and time, our ancestors or those people from back then also knew how to uh, manipulate weather
Mhm.
they had a machine. One of the stories that I read on the people of Atlantis, they had a machine where they were able to. It was like a laser that
Mhm.
where they were able to shoot into the sky
Mhm.
and manipulate the weather. They had that
Mhm.
way back then.
Mhm.
So and because they was doing all of this stuff that was unnatural, see, they misused the natural elements.
Mhm.
Instead of being in harmony with the elements, they manipulated the elements. And by manipulating the elements, just like we stated at the beginning of the podcast, confusion starts in the minds of men.
Mhm.
Manipulation caused confusion. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that was the downfall of those civilizations. So it once again, if there's nothing new under the sun, we're doomed to repeat the same cycle
Mhm.
over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Woof. Man, oh man. Man, oh man. Hey man, we in it, you know what I'm saying? We living it, you know what I'm saying? Find help, find out where you come from, folks. You know what I'm saying? Get healthy, you know what I'm saying? Try to find your higher self, you know what I'm saying? Because like the brother said, this is a war, you know what I'm saying? This is a it's a it's a spiritual, it's a physical, it's a subatomic, you know what I'm saying? Sub energy, you know what I'm saying? It's a war, you know what I'm saying? In which and this stuff extends to the skies, you know what I'm saying? It's way deeper than most people think it is, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, all we gotta do is, like the brother was saying, step out of all this and get yourself right. It's
um,
inevitable.
we also can't pass up the notion that, I mean, yeah, most of us, we understand that it's a, a spiritual or metaphysical war.
Hmm.
Um, when new people first came on these shores, though, before there was a paper genocide and all that stuff, they physically
They're
warred with
battling.
us.
Yeah, they're battling. Yep.
So I mean, people thinking that they ain't gonna get their hands dirty. I
Yeah.
mean, eventually we're gonna have to get our hands dirty. I mean, it's sad to say, I do not advocate violence and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Nonetheless, I'm a realist, and I have a firm conviction in self defense. I'm
Hmm.
even at the point now where because when you learn how to play chess and stuff, eventually you learn how to, at times it's best to be the aggressor.
Aggressor.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But there's a time and place
For
for
everything.
everything.
Yeah, you're
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
I mean, you just got to look at prime example. Look at on the bigger tip, the Haitian Revolution. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? They had to get their hands dirty. You know what I'm saying? But even what you're saying there, they went the spiritual route and they had to go the physical route. You know
right.
what I'm saying? It
But
is, when there's
what our
change.
people
Hmm.
what our people was doing was combining all aspects
Yeah,
of warfare,
exactly
and
right.
the invaders learned that, though, and
Hmm.
they learned that from some of our very own.
Hmm.
They, those who was traitors to the people. You know what I'm saying? They
Always
learned
them.
how, and that's why they became successful.
Hmm.
That's why it appears that they are winning. But the truth is, they're losing because they're doing everything they can to not fall out of that spot. That
Yeah,
means that you losing.
yeah,
Somewhere along the line, you losing.
you're
It
losing.
may not look like it physically as of yet, but just as they
Hmm.
say, a thought is the cause of it all. And because we know this is a spiritual or metaphysical war, we are whooping their ass right now spiritually
Hmm.
because
That's
of
true.
everybody, most people that's waking up,
Yeah,
because of it,
no. Hmm.
and the earth itself. The earth is
Exactly,
everything in nature is aligning with us. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
It's
So
true.
and they are aware of this, and
Hmm.
they'll go so far to make it, even though they may manipulate the weather, they'll make it look like they the ones actually doing it.
Winning.
So you
Yeah,
won't think that it is you and your power source that's actually making things manifest. To keep
that's the
you
truth.
once again part of thinking you're part of their script.
Yeah, that's. I couldn't have said it better, brother. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't have said it, brother. That is an actual fact to the nine to the power of the nine to the power degree. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Man, that is so true, man. Because yeah, cycles. And like I was saying, man, we back. We
Yeah,
back.
we back.
Yeah, we back. And not only that, I saw this thing on Instagram, man. Y'all can laugh at this if you want, man. But for us that know, what I'm saying, this little child, what I'm saying, not even 24 hours born, had his head up looking around. A little Nubian baby, you know what I'm saying, little melanated baby. You know what I'm saying? People don't understand that these beings are coming back for the specific time. You know what I'm saying? And our great master teachers led us the way for us and everybody out after us. It's inevitable. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
It's inevitable. You know what I'm saying? So man, this is been one of the most fun talks I've had in a long time. And please, brother, we gotta have you back, man. I'm gonna have to give you my title of the genius repeater. So you officially
Yes,
got
sir. Hey, man,
genius repeaters now.
I extend plenty much gratitude to you for even what I'm saying, even seeing me. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
what I'm saying. I'm not a famous guy. I don't have a
Yeah,
bunch of followers on this
yeah, yeah,
social
yeah.
media
Hey,
stuff.
you all right.
So
I
you
think the
know,
people I think the people out in the world in the internet world understand why I do this, and you know what I'm saying. It's a specific formula, just real genuine people, man. I was talking to was somebody was asking me before, I can't remember who it was. They were like, "What? How do you pick your guests?" I was like, "Man, I could see that they sincere. You know what I'm saying? They're just
yes,
sincere,
sir.
and they got information, man. It ain't this stuff ain't deep, man. Like Hollywood, burn Hollywood, burn. That's all I got to say about that.
That's right. Yeah. I don't only just do, or at least putting whatever effort I am into this war or whatever we got going on, what I'm saying, as a people, for my people. Most importantly, I do it for my last name. Because
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's about family first. It really
yeah.
is about family first. That
Hmm.
that's the first tribe. That's the first nation, the family.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's it.
It,
Yeah.
did it, what I'm saying,
Then it branches
did
out.
it as fans.
Well, I'm gonna leave on this part, and I like the way the brother said it. The good brother Rahad Hayes said, "All tribes unite." You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying, man. All tribes unite. You know what I'm saying? Let's get back at this. So,
Yes,
all
sir.
right, that's
It's
that's
been a
it for me
pleasure, bro.
tonight. Yeah, hey man, you welcome back. You are definitely got the title of a genius repeater. So you got the
Yes,
your
sir.
card will be coming in the mail.
Yes, sir. So
um,
I
but
like to extend to
mhm,
have a great evening, rest of the evening, and
mhm.
peace and prosperity to you and to yours.
I appreciate that. Right back at you, my brother. Peace and love to you and your family. And tomorrow night we got the brother, and you might want to check this out. The brother I got, Kalanji Changa. I don't know if you know who he is, but
No,
tomorrow gonna
sir.
be, yeah.
Got
You
to it.
need, yeah, yeah. You need, just look him up because tomorrow, boy, woof. You talking
What
about
about
organizing all this
about
stuff?
9 o'clock?
This, yeah, same time. You talking about organize all the stuff we talking about? This brother, boy, he don't talk it, he do it, man. You know what I'm saying? So you gonna see. I'm gonna let him do his thing, man. He just did a lecture recently down in Atlanta. It was off the chain. So we're gonna leave y'all. You know what I'm saying? In peace and love, gratitude. You know what I'm saying? Prosperity, abundance, all that good stuff. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? Anything
Peace
you
to the
wanna?
people. Peace to the people.
Yeah, you wanna tell them what you got as far as your IG, how they can connect with you, all that good stuff, and
Well, for those who are interested in what little content I do possess, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok under the same name, Tuttle She. That's spelled Tutul space XI. I do a little music. In my music, I try to put my little message in my music as well. I'm once again, I'm not famous. I'm not looking to be famous. I don't do this for money or for clout. Uh, I'm really knee deep in this war with y'all. So you know, it is what it is, man. I
yeah,
love my people.
y'all see this? Follow the good brother. Follow Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. Please share. Y'all know this is good content. Y'all know it. Share it to all your people. You know what I'm saying? Tell them to come down the rabbit hole with the polka dot. Follow that polka
Yes,
dot
sir.
rabbit. all the way down the rabbit hole. Because guess what? We're gonna go as deep as we can go.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Respect
man.
to you once again, brother. You're
Yeah,
doing an
peace and
awesome
love.
job with this podcast situation.
I appreciate you, man. I do my best. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And we out of here. Peace.
All right. Peace.